Hi, Joel Rollins here for Rave Radio and Rave Publications on day one of InfoComm 2015. And I am here with Tim Brooksbank, chairman of Calibre and somebody that I talk to just about every show, mostly for his knowledge on scaling and digital processing. Tim, thanks for being with us.
Hey Joel, nice to see you here. Here we are on the show floor of InfoComm, and it's been a busy first morning, I've got to say. People have braved the Florida heat to get here.
Yeah, absolutely. I braved it this morning and almost didn't make it over here. But I'm hearing numbers someplace between 37 and 40,000 for this year's show.
That's pretty good. It's good especially for Orlando, because always in Orlando the numbers are not quite the same as Vegas. So I think that makes it a good show.
Well, I think also in Orlando those numbers include all the children that people registered to make them tax deductible for the show, but that are taking to Disney World.
Absolutely. Does it include Mickey Mouse? Hey, I got to tell you, my hotel has a Mickey Mouse waffle maker.
Ooh, that sounds good. I'm coming over for waffles. Tim, one of the things I wanted to talk to you about this year is we are seeing the sunset of analog computer signals. With digital processing, people seem to be under the impression that we need less in terms of scaling. Can you correct us on this?
You know, I think that's wrong. What's actually happening is the industry has gone through a cycle. Every industry goes through cycles. Now, if people who have been in this business a long time, like me, wind themselves back to, say, mid-2000s, around 2005, HD was starting to become commonplace. People were buying HD TVs and projectors as standard. At that time, some had 720p, some had 1080p, but most of their content was SD. Now, what happened then was content caught up a few years later, and by about 2010 everyone's making HD content. No one's shooting SD anymore. Well, guess what? We've come full circle. So everyone's starting to buy 4K screens, 4K monitors, 4K projectors, 4K LED walls. But guess what? 98-99% of their content is HD or even SD. So we've come full circle. We've got that same problem again, that people have content which is not compatible with the display devices. Or if it is compatible, because the display devices usually do a bit of scaling inside, the scaling that's in the display devices in most cases is an afterthought. It's not optimized. The manufacturer spent $5 or $10 on it to sell you the product. It's not going to do a good job. So we've got that need has actually starting to re-emerge really strongly for very, very good scaler switchers, because the 4K revolution is driving that complete cycle again.
Now, we've been tracking for the last couple of shows, you and I have talked about your partnership with Kramer, and we're here with Calibre kind of sitting in the middle of the Kramer booth. How's it going?
It's going really well. The partnership with Kramer, particularly here in the Americas, is very, very important to us. Being part of the very busy Kramer booth gets us far more traffic than we would as Calibre on our own. We're part of the 5th biggest booth here at InfoComm. From memory, this booth is about 6,000 square foot. Compare that with Calibre's usual 400 square foot booth. It's a massive difference. I have been really busy today, and that's great, because the worst thing possible is to be on a trade show booth and have nothing to do, no one to talk to apart from yourself, Joel. And much as I like talking to you, it's good to talk to people for the whole show as well. So the partnership's working out very well. What Kramer does is Kramer allows us to expand into areas of the market that we as Calibre are not always known for. We've been strong in specialist market areas such as live events, simulation, that kind of thing. But the partnership with Kramer allows us to move into other areas such as conference venues, house of worship, church venues, corporate boardrooms and presentation, the kind of education, the kind of areas that we as Calibre from the UK can't get to on our own.
We think of Calibre as extremely high-level processing and scaling. What makes Calibre's processing different, and why does a Kramer, somebody with the size organization they have, come to you for that?
Well, here's what we offer. What we offer is we offer innovative solutions that deliver something that little bit special, something that little bit different. Now, here at the show, we're showing what we call our HQ Ultra products. These have ground-up design of scaling in them from us, ground-up designed video processing. We've been working on this since Q3 2011. It's been such a big R&D project. Now let me explain. Traditionally, most people who are making scaling products are using chips that were designed for the consumer world. They were designed for TVs, or they were designed for set-top boxes, or they were designed for AV receivers. When you put them in a professional AV product, you've got to work hard to get the performance out of them, and there tends to be a bit of a compromise as to what you can achieve. So I said, perhaps stupidly or naively in 2011, we're not going to do that for the next generation. We're going to design something from the ground up that was optimized for Pro AV. We've called that HQ Ultra. And that has a whole different concept in how the video signal is scaled. Basically, it's a great big mathematical engine. What's special is we're very good at math.
Okay, well, I'm thinking back to my high school algebra teacher and have him suggest to me that I should not be a mathematician. So if that's the way that works, you've designed all of this from the ground up. What, for the layman, makes it different?
So what makes it different is the way that our scaling works. Most scalers consider the picture as scan lines, so they consider horizontal and vertical scaling. So they'll scale the picture just as it scans in lines and build it up that way. And that's low cost to do, but it doesn't give optimal results. Our scaling works on areas of picture, so it considers the picture as a whole. It considers groups of areas of pixels as a whole. I can't give all the full technical details because I'd have to shoot you then, and that would be no good because I wouldn't be able to talk with you at the next trade show. But basically, we consider areas and we consider specific shapes of areas of pixels and consider that as a whole, which allows us to optimize our scaling in such a way that we get a very good quality picture, but we do it with low resource usage, which allows us to implement cost-effective products. So for example, we have new products like our Calibre HQ-View 770 or Kramer VP798, which is a high-end live events rental staging product, does everything for you, and that's relatively expensive. That's about $9,400 list. But that same HQ Ultra technology is also in a 4K presentation scaler switcher with our HQ Ultra fast input switching, and the same picture quality, the same performance for an MSRP of $36.75, which previously with ground-up based processing was not achievable. Hell, some of our competitors who were doing their own video processing were paying $4,000 for the chip that did it. So this is what we've been working on for 4 years. It's not a purely new mathematical concept, but what we've done is we've taken a branch of mathematics that was usually used for something else, and we've applied it to Pro AV to realize very powerful but also cost-effective video processing.
All right, well, let me ask you this. With your view of the market, what's next in digital processing? And I know you're going to leave this show. What are you going to work on next?
You know, at the moment, 4K is the buzzword. Most people don't have 4K content, and most 4K content is what's called 4K 420. So our current products are 4K 420. The market is ultimately going to move to 4K 444. It's going to take a couple of years, probably 2 or 3 years. The reason 420, if I can explain, is actually perfectly valid to use for 4K, is that most content that people are really using in a Pro AV world has at some point been recorded. So it's been recorded with MPEG. It's been recorded either MPEG 4, H.264 or H.265. And guess what? Those codecs are actually 420 codecs. So except for very high-end simulation, control rooms and so on, all the content is actually 420 content. So using a scaler which is 4K 420 is actually optimal for that content. But it doesn't suit all the markets. It doesn't suit high-end computing. It doesn't suit control rooms where you've got very fine coloured lines, things like that. It better suits video content where it's been recorded and played back. So the market is going to move. The world is going to move forward again to 4K 444. So what we're working on now, as well as developing our roadmap of current products, which we call our 7th generation or PV7 products, we're also already working on our 8th generation or PV8 products, which are 4K 444. And let me just add one other thing in. Why is HQ Ultra so special? Because we developed it ourselves, and because it's a range of mathematical algorithms rather than a physical chip, we can expand this. It's scalable. So when 8K becomes a reality, we don't have to reinvent for an 8K HQ Ultra or HQ Ultra 8 or whatever you want to call it. We can take HQ Ultra, take those algorithms, implement more horsepower in the box, and we can make an 8K processor out of them and so on, because these algorithms are mathematical formulae rather than physical pieces of silicon.
It's interesting because I was talking to Polycom about their development roadmap, and they were talking 444 as a future development potential. So it sounds like you're right there in the market looking at what's next.
We really are. We want to make sure we stay at the forefront. We are one of the very first to announce 4K 60 product at this show. I think there's only one other manufacturer with true 4K 60 product. We have the fastest 4K 60 switching in the world. In fact, we believe we have the fastest single channel 4K switcher in the world, full stop. We have put a lot of investment in R&D over the past 3 or 4 years to bring ourselves to the forefront, and we intend to capitalize on that R&D and keep ourselves right at the forefront of technology going forwards.
So if someone wants to talk about Calibre, the future of Calibre technology, and their partnership with Kramer, you'll be here in the Kramer booth the rest of the show.
I'm going to be here in the Kramer booth the rest of the show. Very happy to come and talk to people. Come see us, booth 3443. If you can't make it to the booth, you can either look at the Calibre website, calibreuk.com, which I should say for you Americans is spelled calibre.com, calibreuk.com, because you guys can't spell properly, I've got to say this. And you have beer that's too cold. And you play strange football. But there you go, that's another discussion. Or you can go to the Kramer Electronics website as well. But please, come down and see me on the booth, booth 3443.
Folks, stop by and see him at Kramer, and we will be with you again shortly. Thanks.